guys, I'm here with another Think Outside the Kit layout using my stash again, as opposed to one of the Scraptastic kits that I often scrapbook from. So this series gives me a chance to at least once a month, I'm going to try to dip into my stash and use my stash for a layout. So with this one, I'm using a sketch from the Creative Scrappers, Creating with Sketches Volume 3. You see the book back there. And the papers you see me going through right now are from Basic Gray's Grand Bazaar collection, and it includes all of these beautiful, rich colors and patterns. And so I have a photo of Marcel, who is the international student who's staying with us for the year, and he's 15, and so I'm getting a chance to do some scrapbooking about boys and about teenagers, and so it's really fun, a little bit different experience for me. So I have this photo of him on his longboard, and I've picked out especially that blue and the orange paper. And what I'm doing is I'm looking for a background paper, and so I've pulled out my ledger and wood grain paper, and so that's that whole stack right there. I just keep a file tab to mark that paper in. I store my paper vertically in my recollection storage cubes in my scrap room, and so I pulled out that piece of lined ledger paper, which is it's actually also by Basic Gray. It was designed for Studio Calico, so I'm guessing that one came from one of the Studio Calico kits. I used to subscribe to their kits a couple of years ago, so that's probably a fairly old piece of ledger paper, but any piece of ledger paper would do. I just like how that one has the same kind of dirty white color that's in the other papers from that collection, from the Grand Bazaar collection, that is. And so the one thing that I'm not too crazy about is that orange strip off to the side of it, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyways. And so I just showed you the sketch that I'm using. It's from page 16 of that book, and it calls for a wide strip at the bottom and then a narrow strip at the top. And that was the main reason that I chose that sketch, was that I really liked that part of the design. And then it also has a bunch of horizontal strips underneath of the photo. And that was sort of the main design that I was looking to replicate here. And I'm actually going to stray quite a ways away from the sketch as I go. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to move the photo over to the other side. I am going to keep the title in the same place. So I have this orange pattern paper. It has like a geometric design on it, and a lot of the patterns in this paper collection seem to be and have like an Asian influence in them. And so I am just I'm cutting it to be a kind of a squarish shape to layer underneath of my photo, and I think that just gives my photo a little bit more balance. Like, it just kind of adds to the vertical height of the photo, as opposed to, I didn't want so many. There's already a lot of horizontal lines on the background paper, and then the horizontal line of those two strips of paper, the wide one at the bottom and the narrow one at the top. I just kind of felt like it was going to have too much horizontal stuff on it, because I also know that the sketch calls for a number of different horizontal elements under the photo. So I'm thinking about using some of these stickers, but I actually can't find ones that are exactly what I want. So these are the stickers that came in the Grand Bazaar collection pack. And so I'm just going to dip into my stash, and I have this case of die cut pieces, and that's what it looks like right there. And that piece of washi tape there just labels what brand die cuts are inside. And the ones that I'm using today are also from Basic Gray. They're from the Knee Highs collection and from the Hey You collection. And those two collections the die cuts from them anyway, seem to coordinate quite well together. So I just dumped them all into the same plastic container there that I use. And if you ever see one of my scrap room videos, you can see how I store my die cuts. And I store them by collection usually, but here I've put two collections together just because they seem to go. So I can't remember, of all the ones I'm picking out here, which ones are from which collection, so I'm sorry about that. But I have die cuts from both of those collections picked out. And what I did was I just picked out some die cut pieces that had some of the same colors in them that I was looking to use in this layout, but also some phrases and designs that were more appropriate to a boy. I don't do a lot of boy scrapping because my own kids are girls, but this year I'm going to get a chance to do lots of boy scrapping because Marcel's going to be in our family for 10 whole months. So I just picked out that flare badge from my stash, and this is just a board that I keep my flare. I just glue them down with that sticky strip, the orange sticky strip adhesive, and then I just pry them off when I want to use them. And the one I picked out is black and blue, and it says Wicked Awesome, and I thought that was pretty appropriate phrase for using on a layout about a teenager. So here I have some more stickers, just element stickers from previous Scraptastic kits. These are from the Capture Life collection from Alison Kreft. And I'm looking for other things that I can add. I just want to have a lot of different options. I'm going to pick these two, but they're actually not going to make it onto the layout. But I just wanted something darker because the photo's really dark, and I seem to be picking all light elements. Now, one thing that I just want to mention here is, as I arrange these, is I'm putting a cluster of embellishments that's going to hold some journaling over to the right, and this is going away from the sketch quite a lot, so the sketch doesn't have this big element over to the right, and that's just something that I'm going to be doing. And so I'm arranging my die cuts so that the colors are kind of balanced across this layout. And I'm just going to layer a bunch of them over here. And one thing that you'll notice is that all of these die cuts that came out of that box, they all are quite a bit lighter in their hue than the Grand Bazaar pattern papers are. So that orange paper behind the photo and then the blue paper below and above are quite a bit darker or more saturated. They're just more vibrant than all of the die cuts are kind of like they have more of a washed out look to them. But I'm going to deal with that, and the way that I'm going to deal with it is I'm going to take some of these, see the element stickers I'm holding right now from the Grand Bazaar kit. I'm just going to be careful that I put some of those around on top of my layers so that it'll provide some balance. So that, I mean, you can use different colors and different levels of saturation of colors on one layout, but you just don't want it all of the darker colors to be collecting in one spot and all of the lighter colors to be collecting in another spot. And that's sort of what I have happening here. So I'm just going to make sure that after I'm finished outlining all of these pieces and layering them back together again, that I'm going to go back with the Grand Bazaar stickers and spread some of them across some of the places that have the lighter colors. So I am outlining, and when I'm outlining the Grand Bazaar elements, which are all larger elements, I'm using my 0.05 micron pen. And then when I switch to outlining these elements, I'm going to talk about this marker in a second, I'm switching to outline with a 0.01 point marker. And the reason I'm doing that is that these elements are quite a bit smaller than the pattern papers that I had to outline. And if I had used the same thickness of marker, it would just appear more bold because it would have a different scale. And so I don't want these die cuts to stand out as being particularly more bold than the pattern paper that I've already outlined. So that's why I switched to just the smaller scale marker. That's a 0.01, and again the outlining that I did on the pattern paper was 0.05. So I'm going to outline all of these pieces, including the frames, and I'm going to outline the inside and the outside of the frame. And one of the things that I do when I'm outlining is I just keep my wrist fairly stiff, and I try to move my entire arm when I'm outlining, and that just helps me to get straight lines or straight-ish lines. I don't mind if they're a little bit wobbly, but I don't want them to be too shaky. So I find that if I just move my whole arm in a large movement, it helps me to be able to keep those lines pretty straight. So now I'll talk about what I already did with the blue. So I took a Stampin' Up! Marker that's in a similar color, and I just shaded over the phrase that is on this die cut, and I did it with the blue one too. I was just talking about something else while I did it. And the colors I used for the blue one, I used Bermuda Bay Stampin' Up! Marker, and for the orange one, I used Pumpkin Pie. And that's because the phrases on those die cuts were not relevant to my layout. So one of them was about like favorite books. I forget what the other one said, but it was just not relevant to what I'm going to be scrapbooking about. So even though it doesn't totally blend in, it just gives the die cut a little bit of, like, I'm treating the marker that you can certainly see it, like it's not a perfect match, but I just think with all of the layers you're not really going to notice that there's a slightly different color on parts of that die cut, and if you do, it just kind of will add to the interest of the die cut. So now I decided that I would put something up here in the top right hand corner. I want something small, so I took these two tags that came in those basic gray die cuts, and I'm going to outline them too because I've outlined everything else, so they will stand out as being different if I don't outline them. And I'm putting those up there, and what that's going to do is it's going to, I noticed that my layout is now taking on a diagonal type of design, and that's because I did stray from the sketch and put that large layered element over to the right of my photo. It's all of those frames that are all layered together with a couple of other die cuts. And so I know that I'm going to put my title in the lower right hand corner, so I know that that's going to have like a partial diagonal. So I thought I would just finish off that diagonal by putting something up in that top left hand corner just to finish that diagonal look off. And now you see that in this case I am referring quite a lot to the photo that I took of my everything arranged before I took it off to outline it. And sometimes I take the photo and I never do refer to it again, but this time I'm referring to it quite a lot. And I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see some of how I'm layering these pieces together over here. This is that larger layered piece that I keep talking about that's over to the right of my photo. And I'm basically trying to layer these pieces so that there's no awkward or funny trapped places. There's going to be some trapped space here, and I'm actually using that as part of my design. But I don't want this awkward corner, so that lower right hand corner of the blue frame, I definitely want to cover that. And I want to place this orange piece so that it doesn't entirely cover the blue frame, the lower part of the blue frame, because I want your mind to be able to fill in the fact that these are frames, that it's not like random horizontal and vertical pieces of paper. So I don't want to cover up anything that's essential to your mind completing the idea of this is a frame that continues underneath of these other pieces that are over it. I don't know if I explained that quite right, but basically I'm trying to cover up just the right amounts of those frames to make it interesting, but not so that it loses the concept of it being a frame. I'm taking my slate gray Stampin' Up! Ink and a roller date stamp here, and I'm just filling in some of that cream colored space that's there. And that phrase says, "A day in the life," and it's from Dear Lizzie roller date stamp. And then just so that this doesn't look like a whole bunch of flat, boring pieces layered together, I put some pop dots on this gray piece that says love, 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 so that that piece stands up from all the other pieces. It adds some interest. Now I'm going to layer these two pieces together like this, and the top one, the gray one, has a pop dot on it. I had originally pieced the orange piece on top and the gray piece underneath, but there's so much orange already on this layout, especially nearby with that bold Grand Bazaar paper so close to it, the orange paper, that I decided to layer the gray over the orange so that the gray takes more of your eye up there. So now I have it pretty much set up back the way that it was before I did any of my outlining, but everything is outlined now. And I'm taking this little tab sticker and just put it back on the sticker sheet just so that I can outline it, because again, I've outlined everything else so far, so I'm wanting to outline everything at this point. And when I outline these stickers, because they do have a slick surface, I'm using my Staedtler Lumo Color pen, because that is a slick surface pen. And now I'm just taking the letter stickers that came from the Grand Bazaar collection. There's these beautiful bands of color, and each color has a full set of alpha stickers. I'm just putting the year and in the orange stickers, and I'm putting it on the tab. I'm just going to straighten them out a little bit. And then I am going to outline them, but I think I'm going to wait a few minutes to do that. Nope, I'm going to do it right now. And when I outline it, this is a different kind of outlining. I'm actually running my pen along the outside edge of it. Instead of outlining on the stickers, I'm outlining right beside it. And when you do this, just make sure that your stickers are stuck really good, because in order to do it well, you want to kind of press up against, press laterally against the sticker as you go, not too hard, just kind of run your sticker right along the outside edge, but you do press a little bit, and if your sticker isn't fully adhered, it'll move and then your marker will make a stray mark, and you don't want to do that. So just make sure they're all stuck down really good before you do that. So again, I'm adding another layer there. I'm just going to outline this partial sticker here. I just cut the phrase part off of it because it was a little bit too long. And so I outlined that again with that Lumocolor Stettler marker. And I forgot to outline the last edge there. And I'm just sticking that behind and over to the side of the tab that I put on. And now I just felt like I needed some circular element there. So I just took part of this medallion and I'm going to outline, and I find that it's easier for me to outline a circle if I make quite a few small curves instead of trying to make one circle. I'm just going to shove that down there a little bit more. And now there's a purple element. That's the only purple element on here at this point, so I'm feeling like it's really on its own and I need to add something else purple, but I'm going to wait a few minutes. So here's what I mean by putting some of the bolder colored elements from the Grand Bazaar collection over top of those paler die cuts that I already have layered together there. So this is the first of those that I'm going to do, that Explore. And I'm also going to outline this circular, another medallion. It has a flower on it. Again, using my Stettler Lumocolor pen so that it doesn't smear on the edges of on that sticker, because it is a slick surface. And I just pop dotted the two edges of that Explore sticker so that they'll stick out, and it gives a little bit more dimension. And I'm pop dotting the entire orange medallion sticker over there, and that just brings some of that color up to the top part of that layered cluster there. And now for these three horizontal pieces that are just floating below my photo cluster, my layers that go with the photo, I'm just going to pop dot one of them, and it's this one. It's a long one, so I did put quite a few pop dots on there and put it on. And now I'm going to use another roller date stamp. I'm going to end up looking through all of them for a fun phrase. And the phrase that I came up with was epic, which is a tiny little word, and it's from my, which one am I going to go with? Oh, I don't know why I'm looking at that. From this Studio Calico one. And again, I'm using the same slate gray Stampin' Up! Ink, and I just stamped it right in the center. It's a tiny little phrase, but it just provides a teeny bit of interest to that die cut piece. And then the other die cut piece has a little phrase that I cut off of a transparency that was also in that little box of basic gray die cut. So it's from either the Hey You or the the Knee Highs collection, either Knee Highs or the Hey You collection. So I put that flare badge in place, and now I'm going to glue this cluster down to the background paper and adhere that medallion. And so it's really taking shape. It's almost finished. But again, I had that purple element that was bugging me, that it was the only purple thing. So there was another purple tag on the sticker sheet, so I'm just going to outline that with my Stettler Lumocolor marker, and I didn't have to outline the bottom of it because it's going to be hidden, and I'm just shoving it in this orange. It also does a good job of breaking up that orange strip, that otherwise that strip would be a little on the more boring side compared to everything else around it. I could put something else even, because even that purple tag looks a little boring. It could use something on it, but I didn't. So here I have my stars Classic Stars Martha Stewart border punch, and I've just punched a tiny piece of the sticker of that medallion that I'm not going to use, and that medallion was the purple color, so this allows me to bring a tiny bit of purple over to that cluster without adding something to the cluster, because I'm feeling like the cluster is getting a little busy as it is. So there are those three, and you just want to be very careful when you punch stickers with your punch. You notice what I did was I punched it and then I held it in. So I held it punched until I peeled those stickers off of the mechanism of the punch, because when you let go of it, that mechanism retreats inside of the punch and then you can't get the stickers off of it anymore. So just leave it pressed in, and I used a little paper piercing tool to pry them off of the mechanism of the punch so that I got all three of those stars. And I also pulled off any scraps at the time as well, so that I don't want gummy pieces of sticker to be stuck inside of my punch after I open it, because over time they might mess up the punch and have it not work anymore or contribute to it being broken. So I'm doing my journaling here, and I really wish I had done my journaling before I layered all those stickers, because my handwriting is, well, my penmanship isn't the greatest in the best of times, but trying to write over all of those stickers, it's a little shakier and not even, and I don't know, I don't love how the writing looks on this, but it says, although he left his good longboard in Germany, Marcel bought a less expensive board to use here. And I wanted to put something in the hole of that tag. The tag has a little slot at the top of it for putting a ribbon on, but I didn't want it to be anything that's going to take away. I didn't want to add very much to the design of it, so I just chose a color of ribbon that blends in with the background color. It's just a cheap Michaels spool of ribbon. It's not a brand or anything. It's not like scrapbooking ribbon, it's just crafting ribbon. So now I just grabbed my basket of thickers, my large letter stickers, and I keep the white ones over here to the side because there wasn't room in the basket itself for white, and plus it fills up the space so that the other stickers don't shift around. So I'm pulling out a couple of different options for, and I'm just putting these away. I didn't realize that I had left them out the last time I used them. And so I'm picking out a couple of different options for white thickers, and what I really want is off-white. And so I have this set of K & Company, these ones right here. They're like a puffy sticker, and I really like them, but the font is too fancy for a boy layout. I just don't want, and also it's too skinny. I wanted something that was more blocky, and so here I am. I'm using these. These are those mistable canvas letter stickers. They're called Alley is the font. American Crafts makes these, I think they call them DIY thickers, and they're plain white canvas thickers that you can mist yourself. But I'm not going to mist them. I'm just going to use them as this because I like the nice off-white color that they are. Because as I mentioned, I wasn't looking for a bright pristine white. I was looking for more of a dirty white, and so the fact that they're made out of canvas really works. So as I line these letter stickers up, I'm using the pattern in the paper below them to help me keep them straight-ish. I think they're straight. They're as straight as they're gonna get. Yeah, the paper was looking crooked for a while there, so I just lined it up on my grid mat underneath just to make sure that I didn't adhere something on there wrong. But I think it's just an optical illusion. There's so many lines going in so many directions on that blue paper that it just kept looking like the title was not straight, but it seems to be straight. It's good enough anyways. And I added the period just because I liked it. I don't know why. And then I put, because that title is the only place that kind of off-whitish color really shows up in the layout, I just put a parenthesis up just to use it as a design element up in that other top corner. And that's just so that the title isn't like the only lonely thing with that white color on it. It's like a grayish white. It really is a dirty white. And the other whites on this layout have more of a creamy look, so I just wanted to balance that off. There's lots of grays in the photo as well, so and there's a couple of darker gray elements. Sorry that I didn't position my camera properly here. I'm just looking in my huge tower of wood veneers for some wood veneers that I think might coordinate with this layout. So I hope I move my layout so that you can see what I have picked out there. At the top I have a geotag, and then I'm going to put a star on top of that flower on that orange medallion because I want to de-emphasize the fact that it's a flower because it's a layout about a boy. And then at the last minute I thought these are kind of cool teenager-y type of arrows and speech bubbles that I thought might be cool to put on this layout. And then when I put that there, I realized that really connects the photo layers to this other group of layers. And so I thought that's kind of interesting. I kind of like how that does that. And so I wanted to kind of experiment with the idea of doing that or not doing that. So I left it out so that I could work on that. And then that other one that you can just barely see is a tiny little cloud that says fly. And he really goes fast. So he's really flying. Okay. So yes, I'm going to zoom in so that you can see me glue these down. So there's that. This is by Freckled Fawn. It's a wood veneer that came in a pack with a lot of similar raindrops and clouds and that sort of thing. And this one I think it's either Studio Calico or it might be Freckled Fawn. This one is definitely Studio Calico. It's a boy people call those potty people. They're just icon people. And then there's that star that I'm using to de-emphasize the fact that that medallion has a flower. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this wood veneer with inside of the arrow, just as a, oops, it looks like I've slowed down my speed. Oh well, that's okay. I'm just going to go with it. Yeah, so I just put, this is more the speed that I actually scrapbook at. So I know people are like, I don't know how you do that so fast. But yeah, this layout took an hour and 44 minutes in total over 2 sessions to create. And so here it is. I'm going to show you some close-ups now. So this is what this top little cluster looks like that I just added to complete the diagonal design of this layout. And then here's the top cluster above and around the photo. And there's the photo. My husband took that. They actually went out with some photography equipment up the street a little bit and took those photos right at sunset. They waited all day for the sun to be perfect, and Marcel kept saying, now, can we go now? And Scott was like, no, not yet, not yet. And then all at once the sun was perfect, and they took the car up the street and took a bunch of photos and came back with these, and there's a couple of other ones as well. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope that you found this layout to be fun and enjoyable to watch. Leave me a comment if you have any questions or anything to say. Thanks so much for watching, and have a really great scrappy week.